Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings be upon you all. Welcome. You're listening to Ramadan Radio 87.7 FM. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Zara. I'm sitting here today with Asya at the Ramadan Radio studio on Evington Road in Leicester. We are both MEND volunteers. MEND stands for Muslim Engagement and Development. We've got I've got a packed session today. We've got 4 segments this Ramadan every Tuesday where you can tune in with us. We're going to be talking about Islamophobia, and we're so excited to be involved and have the opportunity to raise awareness about the topic and talk about the growing concern of Islamophobia in both the UK and on a global scale. To start off today, I'll be here every week and we'll have a different guest each time. Today we have Asya with me. I'd like to introduce her. She is a former deputy head, and she was a secondary school teacher. She was an English teacher. She's a current alima, and she's been volunteering with MEND for almost a decade, mashallah.
Yeah, a long time.
A long time indeed. So Asya, can you quickly tell us what is MEND? Who is MEND? I don't think a lot of people in Leicester don't know who they are, and this is a perfect opportunity to tell them.
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. It's lovely to be here and take part, and especially to be here with you, Zara, our lovely co-volunteer. But MEND is, we are a not-for-profit organisation that empower and encourage Muslims to be actively involved in media and politics. We seek to enable British Muslims to engage more effectively by instilling awareness and competence in politics and media. We work with Muslims and non-Muslims to ensure anti-Muslim prejudice is regarded just as socially unacceptable as other forms of racism and xenophobia. We do MEND, gosh, it's difficult to know where to start because we have so many projects and things that we do.
Absolutely.
But what we do, sort of, if we sum it up by, we say that we empower thousands of Muslims to challenge Islamophobia, and we support the community facing those growing threats such as riots and the Zionist lobby, and we equip our community with the tools to organise politically, understand their rights and practice Islam freely and confidently. We have so many things that we're doing. For example, we work with schools, we work with the media, we work with government. We have lots of resources and information on our website with the easy read guides on things ranging from Palestine to debunking anti-Muslim theories. So that's sort
Amazing.
of in a nutshell what MEND does.
Amazing. Well, perfect MEND brief. What can I ask you just quickly? What actually motivated you to be a volunteer for MEND?
SubhanAllah, I think being a mother, first and foremost, I wanted not to be a passive bystander and experience racism and Islamophobia. I wanted to make a difference for my children and the future generations, to sort of be active in the community. And I wanted to know that I'm a cog in the wheel to try and, reduce the effects, reduce the harm that our Muslim Ummah and our children might face. I wanted sort of to, as a Muslim as well, I wanted to contribute to the Ummah. Like I think the hadith that says that man nafasa an mu'minin kurbatan min kurbi dunya nafasa Allahu anhu kurbatan min kurbi yawm al-qiyamah wa man yassara ala mu'sinin yassara Allahu alayhi fi dunya wal akhirah. So whoever, that is so deep, that's so profound in our religion, that whoever removes a difficulty from a believer, Allah will remove a difficulty from that believer on the day of judgment. It's beautiful, isn't it? On the day of judgment. And whoever makes something easy for a Muslim, Allah will make something easy for him in this world and in the hereafter. And that hadith goes on to say that Allah is in the aid of the Muslim as long as he is in the aid of his brother. So, what more can we do what more can we do than help the Ummah to be safe, to remove their difficulties? And we know from the media and from, we're living in England, we know what we face and the difficulties that we face. So that was a great motivation for me.
Amazing, 100%. I think a lot of listeners out there will be understanding and empathizing with you, because there are a lot of mums and there are a lot of parents out there with children, where children are going to school, and it becomes harder and harder to be a Muslim as we grow up in today's day and age. So, Jazakallah for that motivational talk, beautiful hadith. The outline of today's segment, we're going to talk about 4 major things. The first is, what actually is Islamophobia? We hear it all the time. What is it? How does MEND define it? Is there a definition? We'll then talk about the proof of if it even exists. I can remember I delivered a presentation to a group of university students, and the day I went to deliver it, there was a post that I saw on my Instagram feed highlighting Islamophobia Awareness Month, and the comments, when I had gone through them, were just bombarded with not real, doesn't exist, no proof, and it was just constant. And I was like, that's incorrect, because I'm going to be delivering this presentation today, and now I'm going to be listing the proof and the evidence and the stats of why it's such an issue. So this is what Asiya will be talking about later on today. We're also going to talk about why it is such a grave issue, and why it's actually a concern, and why we need to do something about it, especially in the UK and as Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And then finally, after all the doom and gloom, some practical steps and some positivity, and some how we can actually build resilience in our community. Okay, so first of all, when it comes to defining Islamophobia, there is an APPG definition, which stands for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims, and it defines Islamophobia like this. It is rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. I'll repeat that. It's rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. Now, this definition it includes, but it's not limited to, the dehumanizing stereotypes and conspiracy theories, and it aims to address anti-Muslim hatred and discrimination. There's 2 bits I want to focus on a little bit in the definition. The first is racism. Now, Islamophobia is synonymized with the concept of racism because it manifests in the same way. So, for example, when it comes to the housing market or the local authorities, or when it comes to employability, next week we'll be talking about Islamophobia in the workplace with another volunteer, so stay tuned for that. But it manifests in the same way, that's why it's synonymous to racism. And on the second point I want to highlight is Muslimness. What does Muslimness even mean? And perceived Muslimness. If I had to ask you, what does it mean to be a Muslim? What does it mean to look like? What does a Muslim look like? You would say things like a beard or a hijab, even a person of colour, because in the media people tend to assume that if you're brown, you're a Muslim, if you're black, you're a Muslim. And this perceived Muslimness goes on a little bit extra in the sense that you don't have to be Muslim to experience Islamophobia. So, for example, during the 9/11 attacks and just after 9/11, there was a lot of attacks against Sikhs because of the beard and because of the assumption that they were Muslim. Wearing a thobe or a jubbah, that's all perceived Muslimness. And it's one thing inside the definition. Now, the reason why the definition is important is because it provides a starting point for us, okay? A definition on its own is not enough, of course, but so long as we have an agreed starting point, we can then deal with the issue effectively. And when we can identify what it is, we can start dealing with it. So now that we've talked a little bit about the linguistics of it, Asiya, can you tell us how we can prove it is real and why it exists?
Yeah. I don't think our listeners will need proof, but yes, this is what we'll do. I mean, we see it all the time in the media. I mean, even on Monday, yesterday, Faraj in Dover was talking about the burqa ban. And it's this kind of language that elicits prejudice and hate and normalizes that in the mainstream. So It's all over the media every day. We experience it, but definitely there are statistics out there to prove and to show that Islamophobia does exist, even though it is underreported, as we will talk about later on as well. I mean, if we just look at mosques firstly. So mosques, there was a study done by the Muslim Census with MEND, the national survey of attacks upon mosques and Islamic institutions, and it said that 35% of mosques experience a religiously motivated attack once a year. Somewhere that's a place of worship that should be safe. There is obviously a growing culture out there of vandalizing and harming worshippers. And this is all documented and recorded. This is not something that we just sort of pull out of the air. And of those mosques that I talked about, 83% had been attacked at least once a year. That's phenomenal if you think about it. If we talk about some of the specific masajid that have been attacked, obviously most people will remember that how it started when we were shocked in 2019, was it, in Christchurch, New Zealand, where the Nazi-inspired white supremacist, he killed 51 people and he injured 40. And that was a kind of a catalyst to so many, almost immediately after that, so many masajid got attacked. There was one man that attacked 5 masjids. It was just, it was just horrific. And that unfortunately, that has not stopped, and we have not reached a place where we feel safe. No. There was, if we can list the ones in UK, just off, this is not a comprehensive list, this is just an example. But there was an arson attack last year in Peacehaven, East Sussex, where masked attackers sprayed accelerant and set the building ablaze with people inside. Also in 2025, a Nazi-inspired individual was arrested after planning a terrorist attack against Inverclyde Muslim Centre in Scotland. And also last year in September, South Essex Islamic Centre in Basildon was vandalised in a racially motivated incident. So, Muslim worshippers, they feel real risk, and we should feel safe in our places of worship, and we need to know that this needs to be documented. The mosques need to report and document these incidents, even whether they think that it's going to make a difference or not. I think it's really important for individuals and institutions to record data. Otherwise, when we do raise issues of Islamophobia, sometimes institutions will say to us that there's not enough evidence that it exists. And so the underreporting, it really, really makes a difference. If we report, then it's documented, and we can actually take positive steps to try and overcome and be, yes.
On that topic, this reporting, where can people go and report? Can you just give us some more advice on that?
Yeah. So IRU, the Islamophobia Response Unit, is definitely would be a first point of call for any individuals experiencing any kind of Islamophobia, whether it be verbal or physical, or in any way, in school, in the workplace. There are people there who are very, very well qualified to help. There are solicitors working there pro bono. They don't take a penny, for their work, and they are doing amazing work to support the Muslim community, subhanAllah. So that is we'll give you the information and the details later of how to contact them. But that's really important to report it. And obviously organisations like MEND are here as well, and we definitely support individuals and any organisations to help them access wherever they need to find help and assistance. For example, do you remember the Leicester incident that happened with Zainab Hussein a while ago? Well, you're going to talk about that later on one of your shows.
Yes, in one of our segments.
Yeah, but MEND in Leicester, that unfortunately, that was just a horrific incident. MEND was very instrumental in helping, making sure that the police dealt with that case properly as an Islamophobic incident. I won't go too much into that because you're going to probably talk about that in next week or the week after. But yeah.
Yeah, I want to just add on to that. When it comes to, sometimes you don't know who to go to, and absolutely IRU is an amazing resource. I know they've helped me in the past. But sometimes if you need a place to signpost, contact MEND. Just contact MEND. Their contact details are on the website, mend.org. And if you ask someone for help, someone will come back and will signpost you to the correct area of expertise. I wanted to talk a little bit about the population of Muslims in the UK. We're taking in text today, guys. So the number to message on WhatsApp or on text is 077 488 55055. I'll just repeat that, 077 488 55055. And can you maybe, I know some of you might be driving, but if you're not driving, can you text in what you think the population of Muslims are in the UK? We'll just have an idea about it. So please text that in. In the meantime, can we also talk about we're both Muslim women and visibly Muslim. Can you touch on some stats about that as well for us, please?
In 2022, there was a study by the European Network Against Racism. They examined hate crime statistics across major UK cities and found that 70% of reported verbal harassment incidents and 60% of physical attacks are directed at female Muslims. And that probably doesn't come as any surprise because obviously we have a triple we have a triple threat that we are visibly Muslim, we usually come from an ethnic minority, and it's just, and we're female as well, so we have the gender bias as well. So unfortunately, this does mean that Muslim women are targeted much more. The Muslim census as well surveyed 1,100 Muslims on their experiences on public transport, and their study carried out over 2 weeks in November 2025 found that across every measure of safety, Muslim women are disproportionately affected compared to Muslim men and the wider UK population. And in that study it said that 45% of Muslim women felt unsafe on public transport. Now,
not surprising at all.
Yeah, it's not surprising, and that's compared to 8% nationwide with others. So that's a massive jump, and that shouldn't be a society that we should just be happy to just tolerate and just to live in. We have a right to feel safe when we step out of the door, when we step onto public transport, when we enter our workplace, when our children enter our schools. We need to feel safe, and that's our right. And this is something that MEND is so keen to empower our communities to make sure that we do have those resources to be able to make society a safer place, and the government should be taking action to make sure that we are living in a safer society. Yeah,
exactly. I'm going to give the answer for the Muslim population in the UK towards the end of today's segment. Text in your answers again, the number 077 488 55055. Moving on from this though, Muslims are actually the most disproportionately affected religious group by religiously motivated hate crime. And the issue is grave. We've just heard an overwhelming number of stats from Sister Asia, and they're not in small numbers. Now, understanding this proof determines the need to stop us undermining the issue, especially as Muslims, to stop undermining the issue and realise how grave the concern actually is. Our faith is under pressure, And we're holding onto this cold that is hate and Islamophobia. It's becoming increasingly harder to be visibly Muslim, and our expressions of our identity are facing threat and they're being targeted. Now, when it comes, I remember the Southport attack, which was a disgraceful attack. When Islamophobia goes untreated, this is what happens. We get riots, the mosques get attacked, Muslim women get attacked, where there's acid being thrown at Muslims and babies. When it goes unchecked, this is what happens, and this is why we have to do something about it. This is why it has to be addressed. And if we don't address it ourselves because it's our own community targeted, then who is going to address it for us? We have to be the spokespeople to defend it. So it's an important issue. It's a grave issue. It exists. There's stats that prove that it exists, and MEND are doing active work to combat it, and that's why we need help and we need more volunteers to come on board. And if you're just as passionate as we are, we need you. In terms of the Islamophobia industry, what is happening in the UK is not happening in a vacuum. There's no coincidence that across Europe and the Hindutva violence from India feeding into the streets of Leicester, the far right across Europe, it's not just a UK-based issue, it's a global issue, it's a global threat. And the more it gets left unchecked and untreated, the worse it becomes. And we have to think about sustainability. I remember when I was talking to another sister from the MEND working group of Leicester, who were trying to involve more youth into the group. It's important because it's important that MEND's work is sustainable. There's so many resources that they've provided that people are unaware of online when it comes to how to deal with Palestine, how to talk about Palestine in the workplace, or how to deal with LGBT in schools and that being in the school curriculum nationally across the UK. There's resources available on MEND on how to combat these things, or how to work in harmony with our religious faith and with the UK legislation. So it's really, really, really important. Now, there's also, when we were talking about Muslim women being affected by Islamophobia, the MEND CEO is actually a woman. Her name is Lindsay Taylor, and she's a visibly white Muslim woman. She's a revert. Yeah. And she wears hijab, and she had described how she had been called the P word. Even though most of her family is non-Muslim, her husband is not South Asian. She is ethnically white. She has white ancestry, but she has been racialized for wearing the hijab and dressing modestly.
It's disgraceful.
Disgraceful. Now, understandably, it's overwhelming. It's sometimes you feel very alone. I know somebody personally that is actually the only Muslim woman in her workplace. She's a student on placement, and she's the youngest. And I don't think, because we're from Leicester, we're surrounded by culture, we're surrounded by diversity, and sometimes we don't realise the severity of the situation until we go out of Leicester and we leave our little bubble of
Sorry,
safety.
I'm laughing because I say this to my kids as well. You're so spot on. Like, they live in their bubble. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a bubble so when she did move, and she was then experiencing herself be different, she didn't feel safe, she didn't feel comfortable, the self-esteem drops, and she's a bright individual that's got so much potential, but when we face these situations, we don't know how to cope, we don't know how to deal with them. So I want to, if you're listening right now and you feel alone, or you feel as though you're being racialized because of your hijab, or because of just the fact that you identify as Muslim, you're not on your own. You're not alone. There are so many other people, so many young women and girls that are facing the same issue. So don't feel like you're on your own. I also want to tell you that when it comes to this, you have to remember that it's not your fault. Again, I was delivering this is a different presentation that I was delivering, and I was getting a debrief from one of our regional managers from MEND, and she told me something about what Malcolm X had said, and he had said, I'm almost forgetting the quote. It was something along the lines of, who told you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself? If I had to ask you a question, tell me something positive or something ambitious, or positive stories or a fact based around a Muslim and Muslim contributions. What can you tell me? There's not a lot that comes off from the tip of the tongue. And we tend to focus on the problems, But the problem has come from us hating ourselves. It's come from this media that we're being fed. It comes from the unconscious, and you learning to actually hating yourself is not something that comes naturally. You're taught. Who taught you to hate yourself is something that Malcolm X had said. It's not your fault. We have to acknowledge that it's a learned behavior, and we consciously and subconsciously consume the same harmful media, the same harmful rhetoric and depictions of our religion and our community. And it's not just UK based, it's globally. Another thing is, we are in Leicester, we are in a safe bubble, and we still have Islamophobic attacks against us. So doesn't that highlight the issue? We'll move on to the hadith, and also, hold on, I want to move on to building resilience in our community. What can we actually do, Asiya, when it comes to practical steps and acknowledging the issue? And then acknowledging it is one thing, and raising awareness about it is one thing. What can we do to actually address it and hit the root of the conversation?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question. But it's really sad that a lot of people that I speak to, they do say that we don't want to react to it because it doesn't make a difference.
Yes.
I think that what we should focus on is not what is the end result, but rather we should focus on what are we contributing and what are we doing to be that cog in the wheel, to be that step towards a more safer place and a more safer world for our Muslim children and the Muslim Ummah. So I don't think we should focus and be negative and think, oh, it's not going to make a difference. If little old me joins an organisation, if little old me reports it to the police, it's not going to make a difference. If every single one of us in the Ummah, if every single one of us in the UK, we were proactive and we were all working for each other and looking out for each other's safety, I think that's the first thing, to change your mindset. Don't focus on the outcome, just focus on making sure that you are doing something and contributing somehow. I think what MEND recommends is to keep up to date with social political developments and make sure that you are abreast of the media reporting and things that are going on, so that we're aware of the harms, because obviously sometimes things are reported and then that's just a catalyst for anti-Muslim hate and attacks start happening and things like that. So the things don't happen in a vacuum, like you said. We recommend that you join action groups. It doesn't have to be MEND, it can be any kind of anti-racism groups, anyone that protects our rights. And be sort of active in the community. There's
actually there's a campaign that's run by a separate organisation called Islamophobia Awareness Month, and it's similar to the Black History Month or South Asian Heritage Month. There's a month dedicated to Islamophobia awareness. It happens every November every year. A lot of you might already be aware of it, because there's a rampant social media hashtag and there's a different theme surrounding it every year. But that happens every month, and there are so many resources on that website. If you went to islamophobia-awareness.org, of what you can actually do to participate and take part. And on top of, I want to add another thing. I remember when I went to I've spoken about this a few times, so I apologise if it's repetition for you. I went to the MEND residential, I don't even know when it was now, I think it was last year or maybe the year before, and I was looking at these different organisations that had their own kind of specific situation that they were combating. So for example, eradicating Islamophobia in schools, and there's different campaigns, and I realised when you're looking at it, you think that it's a massive successful campaign or successful organisation because you've seen all the impacts that they have made and all the positive contributions and the change that they've made. And then they start giving the context behind it, and I found out that there's only one or two people that run each campaign. Only one person that has made such such a big difference, and I felt so inspired that day that I said, you know what, I'm going to go back and I want to make this change. I want to do something different, because if one person can make that difference, then what can I do?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think Sheikh Zahir from Birmingham, Sheikh Zahir Mahmood, he said that MEND, this organisation, is fulfilling a fard kifaya on behalf of this ummah. It's fard upon this ummah to assist organisations like MEND. So subhanAllah, he summed it up by saying that, this is not something that we can just ignore or just rely on other people. It is our fard to make sure that we look after the ummah. And it's so brilliant, even here in Leicester, we have our imams that also support us in this endeavour and in this plight and in this work. There's our local imam as well, Maulana Sindhi, mentions Islamophobia and those kind of topics, which is absolutely amazing that, this is how we build resilience in the community, that our imams are actually talking about it. It's not just organisations like ours. Yeah,
absolutely.
And also MEND do so many other things as well, that we recommend that you engage with counsellors, build a good relationship with them, and so any issues that you might have as a Muslim community that we can address that, and with that relationship it will benefit, because then they'll be aware of the issues that we're facing. You can join an independent advisory group on hate crimes. You could do something like that, or if there isn't one in your local council, you could even create one. I'd say, put yourself in a place where you're not comfortable.
Absolutely.
I can't remember who said this quote, but somebody said that do something that scares you every day. I can't remember who said that, but I just love that quote. It's just sometimes we're not comfortable sort of speaking up. We think, oh, well, maybe it's just I have to do sabr. This is sometimes it's misquoted in a way that we're just supposed to tolerate anything that comes our way. But no, I think it's really important to be strong and proactive and to be positive, and make sure that as an individual that you're working and contributing towards helping your brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. One of the things that MEND focuses on is also it stands for Muslim engagement and development, but it's also about Muslim engagement in politics. One of the ways in which we can actually make a difference, especially in the UK, is getting involved in politics. Shaka Adam, for example. So Asia Bora has just won in Green Party, and she's a Muslim individual. And these are grassroots. It takes a community to make these steps. But when you come together, again, touching on what I just said earlier, the difference that one person can make, imagine how much more difference you can make when we all come together. And again, it touched on the hadith. Everything just links in so beautifully.
SubhanAllah, our religion is amazing.
I know. There's the hadith, the relationship of the believer with another believer is like the bricks of a building. Each strengthens the other. And it's a Sahih al-Bukhari hadith. It's a beautiful nod to building resilience. We're not responsible for the outcome, as you said. We're not responsible for it, but it's the effort that counts. Sitting here and saying we can't do anything, we can't make a difference. The opportunity that was granted when I was reading the MEND group chat, that Ramadan Radio has, a spare slot for, maybe MEND can come on board, and I was trying to gather volunteers to come together, and because it's an opportunity for us to raise awareness, for us to talk to you. And when you think you don't know where to go, for example, when I first started with MEND, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. I just know I wanted to do something. And subhanAllah, the way that a task is given to you, Allah provides. If you have that intention in you, and you have that sincerity, and you want to make a difference, and you want to stand for justice, the tasks will come. All you have to make is the intention.
Absolutely.
If you asked me when I've been with MEND for about 3 years, if you asked me 3 years ago that I'd be on a radio show right now, I wouldn't have believed you at all. Unbelievable. So I've lost my thought now. I don't know what I was
with all that
about.
enthusiasm.
Well, I want to just we're gonna end soon. We've only got about 10 minutes left. I'm actually going to admit that we haven't had a single text or WhatsApp, and I don't really know how to feel about it.
That's so sad.
No
one's listening. Probably just my children listening.
I hope somebody is listening to us, but it doesn't matter. The actual statistic of the Muslim population in the UK. I know. Even if one person is listening, I'm happy. Do you have any guesses, Asi? I'll ask you.
I won't guess because I have the statistic in front of me.
Well, the actual stat, the Muslim population in the UK is 7%. 7%.
And have you got the what people thought it was? You know what?
Not on me. What have you got?
Yeah, and when they were asked, they asked as well, what did people think the population of Muslims in the UK?
I mean, that was my idea. I wanted to see what
yeah,
my viewer
it would have
thought.
created a nice little discussion, but they thought it was 22%.
Wow.
That's almost a quarter.
We're very small.
And it's these negative rhetorical statements that get put out there. Muslims are taking over and things like that, and we're 7%. I think even just under 7%. You know, and they think that it's 22%. So this is where they think that we're a threat and we're going to take over, and all Muslims want to do is abide by the law, live and make, not just for Muslims, we want a safe world and a society and a community for Muslims and non-Muslims. Our goal is not just to protect Muslims. No. You know, we want to create a safe space for everybody, and we don't believe that it's right to discriminate and hate and harass or abuse anyone of any colour, of any race, and that's who we are as Muslims. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. And to add to that, it's the same when we stand with non-Muslims, the same way non-Muslims stand with Muslims. It's similar. Again, we're talking about racism again. The same way because white privilege exists, white privilege is real, and when white people stand up for their black people as allies, it makes a difference. And in the same way, or for example, when a man stands up for a woman, because women aren't taken seriously in today's day and age. I would say it's always been like that. You know, we've got that. It's gender bias, and it's real. Yeah. So in the same way, when non-Muslims stand as allies with Muslims, it makes a difference. You don't have to be Muslim to help us combat Islamophobia.
Yeah. And it's a shame as well that we don't report, because I think sometimes as Muslims we have that inferiority complex, and we say that somehow we're deserving in a way, or maybe it's just part of our religion, we're just supposed to tolerate it. You know, Dr. Zempi, Associate Professor of Criminology at Nottingham Trent University, estimated that 70 to 80% of Islamophobic crimes go unreported.
Oh my goodness.
That's almost all
of them.
Islamophobic crimes. So imagine if we all reported, the government would not be able to ignore
it.
Exactly. But we don't. You know, there's this. Remember, we do that exercise when we do MEND presentations, where we tell the audience stand up if you have experienced any type of Islamophobia, verbal, physical, whatever it might be, prejudice. Almost everyone in the room every time stands up. Almost everybody, and then you say, I want everyone to sit down, whoever has not reported. The IRU do this, don't they?
Yes.
Whoever has reported that crime or that hate crime. And most of the room sit down. So the whole room would have experienced, but nobody, almost nobody reports it. And I think that has to change. I think we really need to make a bit of a song and dance about it, and don't be ashamed about it. And so that's how we can hopefully create awareness and make a change.
On that note, the IRU, the website is theirU.org.uk, and the contact number, I'll give you a moment, the contact number is 020 3904 6555.
We've got a caller.
We have a caller. Okay, we've got five minutes left. Should we take them? Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, so basically I was just listening to the radio on the way to picking my daughter up from school, and I was like listening to the part where you said that, you know, with the Islamophobia, like we tend to not report it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so true, you're right, because with me, like 6 months ago, I used to go to a mixed gym, and I got racially abused there, and I went and reported it to the police, and then I actually reported it to the owner as well at the gym. But then after that, I don't know why, I kind of dropped I rang the police and I said I even actually wrote a kind of a negative review on their page. I don't know what came up, like it was just in my heart that I felt like I shouldn't have done this, but deep down now I'm thinking, if we're going to leave it and not kind of do something about it, then it's just going to carry on.
Absolutely.
Because I got racially abused because of my headscarf at the gym in Leicester. And now I'm thinking I should have just carried on, but I just didn't. And that was purely because a week after that I was going to go Umrah, and I just wanted to go with a clean heart.
Yeah, and
but,
yeah, absolutely.
You're right.
And this is what I'm saying, that sometimes it's amazing, you know, thank you so much for calling in, and it's really interesting to hear your experience, and this is so representative of so many, especially Muslim women. When we suffer things like that, we think, oh, you know, it's just part of our day. Oh, if we get abuse or something, it's just part of our day, and why would we kick up a fuss about it? But it is important that you do, and you do follow it up. And the IRU, like we said, the Islamophobia Response Unit, is brilliant at helping. Sometimes you might think that nothing has happened as a result of your complaint, but know that that statistic has been recorded, and it has been, and it has made a difference to those stats. You know, police recorded 4,478 hate crimes against Muslims in the year ending March 2025. I think it's much more, to be honest.
That's right. And to be honest with you, I never thought that this would happen to me. But, you know, it was obviously a white man that was commenting about my headscarf. And it does happen. Can you believe it? In this day and age, even like just going to, I was actually in a mixed gym. And now, alhamdulillah, like the best decision I've ever made is go to a ladies only gym. So, you know, I think moving forward, what we definitely need to do is we have to put a complaint in. That's where we go wrong, and where I went wrong as well. And the other thing that I really loved about your show was the fact that you said, do something that scares you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I just did something that scared me. I rang the baby.
Oh,
subhanallah.
Oh, we appreciate it so much. Jazakallah so much. Thank you. I didn't get your name, but
my name's Kiran.
Sorry?
My name's Kiran.
Kiran, Jazakallah, Kiran, so much for echoing what we've said and for supporting us. And we're so glad and so happy to hear that we've motivated you.
Yes.
And
you have,
that's so touching.
And you didn't. Barakallah. You did nothing wrong. You did everything right. I would 100% do it again. I'd go to the police if it happens again. Go to the IOU, and I would write a negative review because it needs to be known.
You know, the only thing is the reason why I can't write a negative review again. The reason for that is I own a business, and I kind of thought to myself, what if they get back to me because they know what business I own? So you look at all those side of things as well. Do you get what I mean? But I just kind of left the gym. I'm a Muslim-owned gym now, and it's so amazing. You know, a ladies-only gym. I can't believe what a big difference a ladies-only gym can make.
Oh, mashallah, yeah, we might be going to the same gym. Might see you there.
Guys have been amazing. You know, honestly, I've got my radio on in my car, and I'm listening to you, and you know, you honestly such a positive impact. So well done.
That means so much.
Thank you so much for calling. Thank you. We've only got 1 minute left. We're going to wrap up really quickly. Thank you for calling in. You'll find us again here next week, again 2 till 3. Next time we'll be exploring Islamophobia in the workplace, promotions, CV, applying for jobs when you've got a Muslim sounding name. So tune into that one. But as mentioned, if you've got any questions, send them in by text, and we're more than happy to answer them in the next few segments. And we want to tailor these radio station segments around you, because you're listening to us, and we want to help you. All resources and anything that we've talked about today can be found on the MEND website. We've also got a MEND campaign called the MEND1000.org. We're community funded, so if you want to support us and if you want to donate to us or you want to get involved, check out the website and the donate link is there.
Yeah, we'd love you to join our team in Leicester as well.
Inshallah.
Volunteer, come along.
Inshallah.